That Sober Guy podcast contains adult content, merciless truth, and emotional nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
I'm Shane Rammer. You're listening to That Sober Guy podcast, and we help people stay sober. Good to be here with you today. Glad you're here. I have the one and only Buddy C here today. Super pumped to have him on. We'll get to Buddy in just a minute. A couple of announcements for you. I just created a That Sober Guy podcast community on Locals. It's kind of like Facebook or Instagram meets Patreon. I talked a little bit about it in a little more depth than we'll hear today on last episode. The last episode, I think, is 349. But I'd love to have you join. There's plenty of free content. There's also premium content. You can download the Locals app, or you can go to thatsoberguypodcast.locals.com. Both those links are in the show notes for you. If you want to try out the premium content, you can do that for free. I think it's till March 15th is what I set it at. You just use the promo code IQuitDrinking. Yes, it's a good promo code, right? You can check it out. So it's a good time. Been posting stuff in there. Back on a little bit of social media in a private community kind of aspect, and we're building that up. So appreciate you guys. And thank you for everybody during this whole week as we've kind of launched this. I've been getting a ton of emails and messages and people asking about it and joining. So thank you to everybody for supporting and being a part. It's going to be fun to build this community back up. You can check us out at thatsoberguy.com. Leave us a voicemail on there. There's a contact form. I got a voicemail actually this morning. It was great timing because I was able to put it in this show today. We'll get to that in just a couple seconds here, just a couple minutes. From Derek the Plumber. Yes, I was like, hell yeah, Derek the Plumber from Seattle. So we'll listen to that. And then also I did throw another promo code in for any, I've had a couple of messages about hats and hoodies. So you can get those on the site as well, thatsoberguy.com. Everything is on there pretty much. It's the hub for everything. But I put a promo code No Hangover for free shipping. That'll run through the end of February. So if you want to get a hat, a hoodie, a shirt, t-shirt, whatever, feel free to go on there, check those out, and use the promo code No Hangover at checkout for free shipping through the month of February. I think that is it on announcements. I'm glad to be here today. Good to have all of you listening in today. If you're new, welcome. We got some great stuff planned for you, plenty of resources to help you stay sober. And we also have one of my best buddies, my sponsor, just a solid dude all the way around. I almost want to call him a sensei. He's like my sensei, Master Splinter style. Buddy C. What's up, Buddy C? How you doing, man?
Talk to me. Doing well. Thank you, Shane.
Yeah, good to see you.
Just boost my ego with that, because that's I have to confess, I love being known as a spiritual person. That just works against me so hard.
Yeah.
I want to be Yoda is what I want to be.
I like it.
But and I need to just say that because it takes the power out of it when I tell someone and don't keep those secrets, you know?
Yeah, no, that's good. The disillusion of being so important, masterful, and sensei-like.
Sensei-like,
yeah.
Yes.
I like it, though.
It's sense
Sensei
with
buddy.
an I is what my sensei says. That's how you can remember it. It's sense with just add an I to sense, and you have me.
There it is.
But yeah, that's it's good that I keep my ego at bay.
Oh yeah,
that's a big part of what we're going to talk about today, I think, is letting other people have their opinions and how you're learning to do that, which is huge.
It is huge, and it's not easy either. I guess the acceptance, I took a couple notes here. Acceptance, control. Even when we started, or before we started recording, we even brought up the effortless effort, which is something that I've always kind of had a hard time understanding. It's like, okay, wait a minute, effortless effort. Does that mean I'm just not supposed to do shit? I'm just supposed to sit around? And no, there's kind of a formula for that. And we'll get into all that stuff here in just a couple minutes. I just want to talk first about some of the resources that you've created and that you're a part of. There's a ton of them, and just for everyone listening out there, we'll be sure to put all this stuff in the show notes. So if you need a meeting, if you want to check out the daily AA email, Buddy's got a couple podcasts I'm gonna have him talk about in just a second. But all that stuff will be in there if you need resources or whatever you need. So I have down the daily AA email, which I thought maybe we could take a look at. Tao of Our Understanding, cool. Alcohol Recovery Podcast. What else? Sober Meditations. How's all that stuff going? Working
on the Tao podcast. We record that every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. And we run that through a Facebook group that we have where we post a link and so forth. So anyone that would, if you listen to the podcast and you like it and you'd like to participate, you're welcome to participate as long as you behave. We haven't had to remove anyone yet, but I'm not shy, if I need to. But everyone's welcome. And we learn a lot from everyone's experience because that's what makes this work.
Yeah.
Is how is it working for all of us, and we share how it's working for us. And I think that what the God, if you call it God or whatever name you put on what works, it's in it working for us, the action that we take that makes it real.
Yeah.
Not in believing something particular to make it real. It's the reverse, of what I learned growing up. I learned growing up that I believe something and then I get results from my belief. But this is taking action. We act our way into right thinking instead of think our way into right acting. That's the AA phrase that describes it.
Yeah, which can be tough to do sometimes if you don't you bring up a good point. A lot of us were taught things growing up. And when you're taught things, it's sometimes hard to undo or unthink or unknow those types of certain things. That one thing that has kept coming up in the meetings for me the last couple of weeks is the God. You mentioned God, and this difference between religion and this difference between having a spiritual relationship with the higher power that we kind of learn more in the rooms. And I know that's not our plan today to kind of dive, because that hole goes really deep. But I think it's just something good to touch on. There is a difference, and just we don't have to all think the same, act the same, do the same in order to have a spiritual relationship with something higher.
One of the worst meetings I was ever in was one where the guy leading the meeting started talking about his perception of God. And then everyone went around the room, God measuring, This is what I think God, and it was awful. And I realized it was years and years ago. And I realized before that it wasn't important what I believed. It was important that I learned to surrender.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what's important is surrender, not belief. And the way that I learned to surrender was by doing for someone else. So that effort that we take when we don't know the next right thing to do is who can I help? Instead of God help me, my prayer changes to God, who can I help?
Yeah.
And then I stay there. And it's really that simple. I don't have to figure God out now. I don't have to know that I know that I know, that kind of phrase, I don't have to do that now. I can just be at peace, because if I'm doing the next right thing, whatever happens, I'll be involved in. I'm not concerned about it. In other words, I'm not having to earn or strive or any of those things or live in fear.
Yeah, that's
have the fear of hell and all of those things like I used to have. I'm at a place of peace now, and I think it comes from living what we were trying to believe.
Yeah,
really.
One of the things that brings up when you say that too is just, I don't know. Like, it's so nice to be able to just say, I don't know sometimes. And it's hard sometimes because we want to know, we want to have the answers. We want to seek, we want to know the truth. Damn it. Get me the truth. Like, I struggle with that. I have for way before even I got sober. And it's very alleviating to finally at least have some general understanding of going, I just don't fucking know. Like, I don't know. And, maybe I won't ever know. But there's something that kind of takes away the power of that need to know, or that need for answers, I guess. Surrender, I guess. A little bit of surrender in there.
It is surrender. It's a vulnerability that we can introduce in our life when we say, I don't know. Or even when we don't even verbalize it, when we're looking at a situation and we approach the situation with open-mindedness.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's actually a Tao quote I like for that. It says, open yourself to the Tao, trust your natural responses, and everything will fall into place. So you open yourself up to the moment, open yourself up to your perception of God, open yourself up to love, whatever, how you look at that and say, okay, I do not have the answer here. I might think I have the answer, but how can I be open-minded enough to see what I don't see?
Yeah, that's good. And hard to do.
And that's where the solution is in us letting go. There's another one that I like with that. It talks about the master completes their work and then they let the work go, like let go of expectations, let go of how they think it should work out.
Yeah.
And in letting it go, it makes it stay.
Yeah.
So we get out of that. It's like rolling the dice, you let the dice go.
Yeah. Well, it's like we've got to give it away to keep it. That's the same type of thing, right? I remember hearing that a lot.
Yeah.
In the room.
Exactly. It's the paradox that we get what we're giving.
Well, I think to your point too of like we don't pray, we don't pray for, save me, help me, I need this, I need that. Like God's not a genie. How about we flip it? This is what you're saying, and just correct me if I'm wrong, but we flip it and then we go help somebody instead. I mean, you've preached that to me for a long time. Like, hey, the best thing you can do to get out of your own head when you're all jacked up is to go help someone. It's real simple. Now, that's pretty biblical at the same time. Those principles stand not just biblically, but throughout many different philosophies, that service, the act of helping someone, and your needs get met in the process of that, right?
Yeah, and it starts with just turning your thoughts to someone we can help, and I'm going to use big book references for a lot of this. You've got Christian references, you got Bible that backs all of this, you've got AA references, you've got Buddhist and Taoist references too. But page 84 in the big book, that's one of the first things I think we ever talked about years ago. Yeah, it just tells us exactly what to do when that resentment and fear and selfishness and dishonesty.
I just pulled this at the Tuesday night meeting. I think it was, and continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we've harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. So, there it is right there.
We don't have to stop and go help someone. We just turn our thoughts to someone we can help. So
pray for them. I know think about them, right? You say that sometimes.
I'm sorry?
Like what you've told me before too, like you can be, no matter where you are, maybe it's a meeting, for instance, and just pick a random person and pray for that person,
Yeah, if you have an ongoing situation, I would suggest having someone in mind that you pray for on a regular basis for that. Let's say that you have an issue with a child that you're having difficult. Let's say you have a child that's having addiction issues, which happens a good bit as we get older. Well, then what I would do is think of someone else I know that has the same issue with a child and pray for them. If I were getting a divorce, let's say, or having marital problems, I would ask my higher power to send me someone to pray for that had similar issues. And then I would write their name down, and maybe even on the daily, I would pray for them until it was no longer bothering me, whatever the situation was.
Yeah, that's good.
I wouldn't keep it a secret. I wouldn't keep it in my head. We have tools to use, and these tools get us on this path that I believe all these different approaches bring us to. They all bring us to this point of surrender, this point of getting out of the way and letting go is where the magic is. That's where it happens.
Yeah.
And it's great. We don't have to believe a particular thing. We can believe whatever we want to believe.
That's right.
But we do have to surrender. The result was nil until we let go absolutely. There's not many absolutes that I have to do, but letting go absolutely is one of them.
Yeah. So stop fighting, in other words. I remember you told me that
Well, this is the thing, Shane. We don't have to stop fighting. If we're letting go and surrendering, the fight just goes away on its own.
Yeah.
We don't have to work to stop the fighting. What we have to do is work to do the positive, Yeah.
If
we spend our time doing the do's, we won't have time to do the don'ts, in other words, right?
Good. Yeah.
We start changing, our nature changes, and we'll realize, wait, I'm not fighting anymore. Why isn't that bothering me? When my wife used to say that, I used to get sideways. I didn't even think about it this time.
Yeah.
You just change. It's natural. It's like opening yourself up to the Tao or to God or to love or whatever way you want to phrase it. And trust what naturally you get in this flow of life, and trust what is naturally happening, and everything falls into place. And it's natural. This is a natural thing to us.
Yeah.
And we can live in that. We can live in it.
We're going with the flow, not against it.
Not fighting it.
Yeah, not fighting it, because that's a tough battle.
What do you do? Like, let's say you're well, let's use water. I mean, you're floating down the river. I remember floating down the river and enjoying myself, but it was always difficult when I tried to fight against the current.
Yeah.
Or wanted to stop and hold on to a limb, and the water just would push me around. Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's the same approach. Is how do I pick my feet up and just float? It is so easy, and I'm moving the whole time if I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And I get out in the current. I might paddle a little, take a little effort to get out in the current, but I pretty much can just float along and enjoy it. I think that's the way life is supposed to be. It's the way it's becoming for me, and has for years now. It really has. It works.
So us human beings, in other words, make it way more difficult than it needs to be.
Our
self-destruction. Ego.
We look for ways that we're different rather than ways that we're alike. I think has been my issue. Then if I'm looking for ways to be different, I'm going to look for ways that I am right and you're wrong, or ways that I am wrong and you're right. Either one is going to mess me up.
Yeah.
I've got to just realize that we're the same, that what I give is what I'm getting back. It's all of life is a mirror. And my perceptions are not real of what I see going on. A Course in Miracles is huge on that. Really good with teaching me that we're just one big body.
Yeah.
And that when I hurt you, I'm really hurting me. And that I always get back what I give. Always. So if I'm giving anger, I'm going to get anger back. If I'm giving fear, I'm going to get fear back. If I'm giving love, guess what? I'm going to get love back.
So what we put out, we can expect to get back. In other words, I mean, it's pretty simple actually, but it makes a lot of sense too. When we're even like with the kids, I could feel that sometimes. Like, if I'm in a irritated mood, they're going to be naturally irritated too for some, you know what I mean? Or if I'm in a pretty good mood, like, I don't know, it sets the tone, I guess.
Well, even if I correct or say something to someone, correct, like let's say with children, I correct one of my children and I do it in anger, I'm going to get anger back probably in some form.
Yeah.
But if I correct in love, and I can bring my consciousness up to love, that I can move from, hey, you're embarrassing me, stop that.
Yeah.
To, I love you and I want you to have a whole life. And that's why I'm taking this action.
Yeah.
Is love. If I can move it up to love, in my actions, I'm going to get acceptance and love back. Now, I may not see it immediately, and it may take some time. It's just like we talk about, getting along with a spouse.
Yeah.
Well, the first question is not, how can I convince her I am right? It's, how can I get love into this interaction? How can I get love into this? Because if God's love, then it's not about changing what I believe. It's about an action that's going to put love into this interaction, you know?
Well, the words are powerful, right? And how about this one? When, we've had chats before and I'll be, somebody or something is not doing what I think it should be doing, right? So it's like, that stupid motherfucker, this and that and that. And you're like, hey, how about we stop with the name calling? Let's just start there, because it sets a certain tone, right? And for me, sometimes it feels really good to get it out, but at the same time, it's not really very productive. It's not really putting my spirit. I can feel that angst, that anger in my spirit. So it's like, you need to take a step back and go, actually kind of consciously think about what you're saying, what I'm saying. And that's really hard to do when you're in the moment, I got to say, but I'm getting better at it. And I do think about it. Like sometimes, I don't think I've told you this before, but I'll be doing something and maybe we're driving and someone pisses me off driving or whatever. And I start going off in my head or in my, this dumb son of a bitch. And I go, wait. I'm sorry. Okay. Buddy says I can't call you names. I'm sorry. Okay. I stop. Maybe you're trying to go to the hospital and you need to get there really fast, trying to give people that benefit of the doubt. And it's kind of hard to do. It sounds kind of goofy too, but it does work,
It does sound goofy. But when I start calling names, and I'm bad, used to be worse, but I'm learning not to do it, just like you're talking about. Someone would come by and I just look at them and say, you're a fucking idiot, And when I start that, man, it just goes from there and goes downhill. But, they have every right to drive the way they want to drive, as long as they're not putting other people in danger.
Yeah.
As I have a right to drive the way I want to drive.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not putting other people in danger. So and the things that would aggravate me were not things that were putting people in danger. It was driving on the left side in the left lane when you should be in the right lane and you're holding up traffic.
Yeah.
They can do that. It's okay. I have no control over what they're doing, and that kind of stuff used to just burn me. I would get behind them and flash my lights until they moved over, that kind of stuff.
Well, naturally you go, this fucking idiot. Like, why are you, who taught you how to drive? Why do you even have a light? You can go down the whole road, right? And it feels good when you're doing it, because you're like you're pumping all that fear out and that anger that's inside of you from other shit. But really it doesn't do anything productive except stir that pot up and really put you in that state of mind that is not healthy.
And there's two approaches to those feelings. We need to feel the feeling, but yet we don't need to feed the feeling. Has been my approach. If I start calling names, I am feeding that feeling of anger.
Yeah.
But if I notice that I'm angry, say, this person's making me angry the way they're driving.
Yeah. And
if I can take a moment and just to myself as third person, as the observer, be the observer in the situation, say, and then if I can move it from dual to non-dual, I'll even do something like, I'm driving slow in front of me today. Something like that. It reminds me of in the Matrix. I remembered it from the twins in the second Matrix. We're getting aggravated, aren't we? Yes, we are. That kind of thing.
Well, it's funny because what you're saying is, we're not blocking out this is a natural feeling to be angry, to be pissed off. We're not blocking it out. We're not trying to say to ourselves, Shane or buddy, like, you shouldn't be angry right now. No, I'm feeling anger, but you're saying versus feeding that anger with the curse words, with the calling of names, with the physical reaction of getting angry is totally separate versus just acknowledging it. And that might help to curb some of that.
I remember the first time that I saw this, I would recommend a book, Letting Go, The Pathway to Surrender, David Hawkins.
Okay.
Excellent book. I read it with some sponsees that I sit and meet with in front of Zoom. I'm reading through this with a couple of different sponsees. Very good book.
What's
It's
his
teaching
name
you how
again?
to do
David
the first
what?
3 steps, how to let go.
What's the author's name?
Hawkins, David Hawkins.
David Hawkins. Okay. I'm going to put it in the show notes here.
Thanks. He was talking about allowing yourself to feel anger when you are angry, because I always pushed it down. And when I resist the anger, I give it power. Because when I push against, what happens? I get pushback, right? So I remember, and it was in January one year, and I started thinking about my taxes, that I had to get my taxes done. And it was going to be August, because I always file extension. So it was going to be August before I did my taxes. But I was sitting there and I was thinking, I'm going to have to get my taxes done. And I'm going to have to negotiate with my accountant about fees. And he's going to try to, and I started getting angry at him already, right? And it was going to be August before I did anything. And I said, oh, okay, this is an opportunity to do what I'm learning. I said, I am angry at, said my accountant's name. Dick. I think he's going to try to screw me. I'm going to curvail the cursing, and try to keep it as clean as I can. Yeah. He's going to try to screw me, and I'm going to have to negotiate with him on fees. I don't like that. I don't like the way that makes me feel. Huh. And I sat there for a minute just sat there with the anger, allowed myself to be angry.
Yeah.
It's like a moment of meditation, really. And the anger just flittered away.
Really?
I was like, normally I would be angry all day about this.
Kick his
ass. Take it out on everyone around me.
Bro. Kick his ass at the tax thing. Start making up stories in your head about how he gives you the bill and then you grab him by his dumb little tie and just start punching his face.
I would just get all upset and be upset for the whole day. And I'm like, it's already gone. And it had been less than 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes tops. And I'm like, there's something to allowing myself to feel it without, starting the name calling and all of the other things that go with that.
So was that the difference then? You allowed yourself to feel it versus going into the emotional reaction of it. You actually sat on it and
I just sat there with it.
Almost like you said, meditate on it almost.
Yeah. When I got divorced, I did the same thing. I sat and meditated for a couple of days, several hours, just with the fact that what was I feeling in this divorce?
Yeah.
I said, it's making me sad. Why is it making me sad? And going into all the reasons, I know my ex-wife will never hear that, never listen to this. And I started looking at the reasons, putting it into little bite-sized pieces instead of trying to process the whole thing at once, all the different things I was upset about. And come to find out, she was like 8th or 9th down the list of the things I was upset about. I thought it was all about, I was upset because I was getting divorced, but it had very little to do with her. It had to do with, I'm going to need to sell my home because I don't need this big of a house. I'm going to need to move. And I started laughing because I thought this was about her. It had nothing to do with her. It was all about me.
Yeah. All about how your life was getting what you're going to have to do, this and that. And it's easy to pin it on somebody or something.
Yeah. And so I couldn't process that as long as I was resisting feeling all of that. And then once I just let myself, and I had a good cry about it. And I had all of, it was like a form of grief, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
It took me a couple of days and it came back a little as it went on, but I would sit with it when it would, and it would eventually leave. And it's just this idea that we can feel what's going on without having to resist those feelings. And then once we allow ourselves to feel, we can observe and we can see what's going on in our life and just let it go.
Yeah.
Just let it go. So I was amazed. She would be upset to know she was like 8th or 9th, literally 8th or 9th down the list.
You could always write her a letter and tell her, hey, I just wanted to let you know.
No,
I'm real
I don't.
sorry.
No,
I'm just kidding.
I can't do that.
I'm real sorry. You were 8th or 9th now.
She still cooks for me every now and then, so I go see her every now and then. Yeah.
Hang out a little bit, little company.
Yeah, she said that. I said, you're going to be able to say that your ex-husband was as nice leaving the marriage as he was going into the marriage. So
that doesn't happen often.
No, it does not, and it couldn't happen without the program. Without the things I've learned in recovery.
Yeah,
I never would have surrendered to begin with because I thought I had everything figured out. This is the difference. Coming into recovery, I thought I had every little thing figured out. And the longer I'm around, and I've been sober consistently for 12 years, 13 in November, the longer I'm around, the less I know, the less I think I have figured out. Like we were talking about.
Yeah.
Not having to have all the answers.
Whereas before we would fight everything. We needed to know I'd make up a story. You know what I mean? Or at least dance around the story to sound like I knew what I was talking about, or like I knew.
So much pleasure in the drama.
Yeah.
And I had friends I could get mad, and I would just get them mad just to fight with them,
It's like a sport, huh?
Yeah. Just enjoy it, you know?
Take that. Let's do you mind if we go do a couple of messages? We'll do this voicemail.
No, don't mind at all, my friend. Whatever.
We had a question here from Brad too about a sponsor I thought might be good to touch on.
Cool.
And then too, I just want to say too, we'll put this in the show notes. If anyone's looking for a Zoom meeting, an online meeting, you got the Fourth Dimensioners meeting. It's in the show notes. It's 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, daily. And then Saturdays, there's a speaker. So if you need a meeting, that resource is always there. I
go to that meeting at least 4 to 5 nights a week. So if you show up and you see Buddy C on there, make sure and say hello.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Love to hear from you.
And you also, too, just so I don't forget, and in case at the end, you pointed out that on Transitions Daily, which is the daily AA email, if you want to get that, there's a tab there called Pandemic Resources. I'll put that link in the show notes too, with all kinds of different resources on that page to kind of help navigate through this, crazy, weird ass time that we're all in right now. So, I mean, there's podcasts. You can sign up for the daily AA Transitions Daily email, top 10 tools to stay sober in 2021. You got Sober Meditations, which is Buddy's app. Lots of good stuff on there. So there's plenty of resources provided that y'all can check out. All right, let's play this message I got this morning from Derek the Plumber. Let's check this out, and then we'll talk about it a little bit.
How you doing, Shane? My name is Derek, also known as Derek the Plumber. I'm from Seattle, Washington. I'm a longtime listener. Appreciate the content, appreciate your spirit, and I appreciate the message that you continue to share, man. Experience, strength, and hope. That's what we need. Coming back from relapse, I think I got 90 days. Yeah, I do have 90 days. And, after multiple years of recovery, coming back from relapse is not easy. But listening to the podcast has helped. And just keep putting one foot in front of the other, man, one day at a time. Take care. Love you, Shane. Thanks, bud.
Yeah.
Derek the Plumber.
Derek the Plumber, 90 days. Let's get a little applause there. Good stuff. Man, I thought that was awesome, though, the message. I mean, thank you, number one, for reaching out. And then I've talked to a couple people in the men's stag meetings that I've been in who've had some time, years. One guy in particular, I think, had 5 or 6 years. And then just with everything that has happened in the last year, slipped up and relapsed. And I think that's it's a pretty more common thing right now. I mean, it's always happened, but right now we're seeing it a lot more just because of all the changes and different things that have happened. And I just want to say, to get back on and to get to 90 days after that is huge. So congrats on that, and way to go. Like, keep showing up, keep listening, keep going to meetings, whatever it is that you're doing. I mean, what are you seeing about that, buddy, in meetings and people relapsing and having trouble getting back on the horse?
Yeah, it's tough right now when we have to change our behavior. Even our recovery behaviors had to change.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded we've met on Zoom and other platforms for years.
Yeah.
And so it was not a big deal to us to go for me to go to an online meeting was no big deal because I was already meeting with most of my sponsees online.
Yeah, it's true.
But, we learn in recovery that we'll go to any length to stay sober. And Zoom is just another length.
Huh.
And there's good Zoom meetings and there's bad Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
It's like any other meeting. You go to, I know I would go to different meetings and say, that's a shitty meeting. I'm not going back to that one. Or, this one's not that good. And this one's real good, and then I would go from there. I always gravitated to the church meetings, not because of God church, but because you're more sober people a lot of times would go to church meetings, especially before smoking. Non-smoking church meetings were the ones I would seek out.
Yeah.
If I was traveling.
Yeah.
Because I would know that my chances of getting some good sobriety there's good. Hanging out at the clubhouse with all the paper signers.
Yeah.
Probably not going to get as good a quality meeting as I may now. I may need to go to that meeting so I've got some people that I can help.
Yeah.
Because I'd have meetings I'd go to help people, and then I'd have other meetings I would go to that had the more sobriety there. So I have to do the same, I think, with Zoom. We just look around, we keep going to different meetings. And really, it's another thing that we can surrender to.
Yeah.
Because we can say, okay, just to our higher powers, I surrender to what meetings, what do I need for my sobriety? I'm open. Put in front of me what I need, please.
I wonder if they have smoking Zoom meetings where people just sit on the Zoom call and they just smoke.
If you want them to be, they can be.
I mean, I guess you could. You wouldn't be bothering anybody because you'd be smoking in your own way. But
you could even have stinking. You don't have to take a shower to go.
Yeah. Your butt stinks. I had to tell my son that the other day. I'm like, bro, you need to take a shower, bro. Your butt stinks. I came out and this dude was like in his robe and no underwear on, doing a handstand on the couch with his robe falling down. I'm like, dude, get your butt juice off of my couch right now, dude, and go take a shower, dang it. Yeah, the meetings, though, you never know. You could have not showered for 3 days. And, hey, you don't have to worry about that. We do have, though, speaking of that, I found out that I think last month, the Alano Club here actually opened up. So I haven't made it over there yet to see exactly if they're limiting it or what, but the Zoom meetings seem to be working well. And I was really resistant to them at first too, because it was an easy excuse.
I know.
Fuck that. I'm not going. I need an in-person meeting.
Do you want to talk about that some? Or?
Not really. No, I'm fine. Yes, of course. We can talk about anything. I'm an open book. Oh man.
Well, we won't go too deep, but I know that you were fighting all of this in the beginning.
Oh yeah. Easily. Yeah.
And my point was, hey, and you've got to maintain that spiritual connection. Never how you maintain it, you've got to keep doing the things that work.
Yep.
And just do more of what's working. If someone's coming back, I would say sit and identify the things that work for you and do more of it.
Yeah, that's good.
It's just really that simple. For some people, that's reading the Bible, or for other people, it would be reading some other literature. Some, it would be meetings. And there's 24-hour meetings that you can find a meeting any time of the day, 24 hours a day, you can be in a meeting.
Yeah.
So it's not that you can't find a meeting. It's incredible. I mean, resources we never had before.
Yeah.
And some that'll continue after this pandemic's over. I know the Fourth Dimensioners meeting, they said it's going to continue. I turned it over to a group Conscience back in May, and they're going to continue after this.
It's pretty awesome.
And so I think it's great. We've got to know a whole group of people all over the country.
Yeah.
That's just incredible. It's just incredible. And we can have that same connection online that we had in person. So I would say just do what works for you and be open-minded and look around. And just because you don't like something doesn't mean it's not going to work for you until you try it.
Yeah, it's good. Keep showing up, doing what you know. Derek.
And you can go around the room, Shane. And it's interesting. before the pandemic, I had learned to go around to each of the people in the room and pray for them individually during how it, when my mind would wander during how it works and all those things.
Yeah.
I would sit there and I'd go around the room and said, I open my heart to the person. If it were you, I'd say, I'd open my heart to Shane. I send love to Shane. Show me how I can be of service to Shane today. And I just go around the room to each of those people, and we'd have 30, 40 people in that meeting. So by the time they got through all the preliminaries, I would have done that. So I've told sponsees, hey, if you're in a meeting and your mind's wandering and you're wanting to play on your computer and instead of listen to the meeting, just start going around the room, pray for each of those people.
When you're making yourself available by doing that too, right?
Yes, you're opening your heart. It's back to that first phrase, opening yourself to the Tao, opening yourself up to your higher power.
Yeah, that's good.
That's
making
what you're
us
doing.
Available. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's all of life, Shane. I think this whole program is about lowering my agenda, lowering what I think, and making myself available, because I can't do both at the same time. I can't be available to love and available to be understanding and all those things and be controlling and fighting at the same time.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to do both at the same time. It's either one or the other for me.
One is going like against the flow, and the other is going with the flow, I feel. Because I can, even just when I hear you say the two, I can picture both, and like it's kind of weird. I picture it, I guess, but one is just dark and one is light.
I want to read a quote from, this is a couple of quotes from Acceptance is the Answer, 418 to 420. This is from 418. Today I find it's being an alcoholic is the best thing that's ever happened to me. This proves I don't know what's good for me. And if I don't know what's good for me, then I don't know what's good or bad for you or for anyone. So I'm better off if I don't give advice, don't figure I know what's best, and just accept life on life's terms as it is today, especially my own life as it actually is. Before AA, I judged myself by my intentions while the world was judging me by my actions. And there was one other one I wanted to read. This is about my serenity is inversely proportional to my expectations. Like if I get on the road and I'm expecting everyone to drive like I want them to drive, my serenity is going to be out the window very quick.
Yeah.
Those are the higher my expectations, the lower my serenity. I can watch my serenity level rise when I discard my expectations. And it works every time.
Yeah.
And he goes on to talk about, and there's one little phrase I want to add, and this has to do with, so what do I do? Am I just this pushover that I just let everyone run over me?
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah. Acceptance is the key to my relationship with God today. I never just sit and do nothing while waiting for him to tell me what to do.
Don't be a lazy ass.
Rather, I do whatever's in front of me to be done. I leave the results up to him. However it turns out, that's God's will for me. I must keep my magic magnifying mind on my acceptance and off my expectations.
That's good.
And he says, for my serenity is directly proportional to my level of acceptance. When I remember this, I can see I've never had it so good.
That's good.
Yeah. That's exactly, really and that's the whole thing that we've been really talking about the last few months is how do I accept these situations that are truly unacceptable?
And out of my control, or out of our control to some extent. That's
the key.
Yeah.
That's the key is realizing they're out of your control and quit trying to control things you can't. Control what you can.
Yeah. Which is in the moment. That's kind of, we went with some friends over to their house, a couple of us, to have dinner last night, and we were kind of talking about things, and like I finally came to the conclusion, like, I only know what I see in front of me. Everything else is speculatory, really. Whether it's radio, news, things you see on TV, whatever it is, I only really know my reality only makes 100% sense when I'm doing what's in front of me, like that I can see, because that is the actual reality. So getting caught up in this false reality of you hear this, you hear that, this is going on, that's going on, that didn't happen, that did happen. Whether we're talking about, being in recovery or outside recovery, just in the world itself, it's really easy to get caught up in that stuff. But it's unhealthy to some extent, and it also, you can't do anything about it,
Well, that's what this is really talking about for me, is learning how to let all those things go.
Yeah.
And let's say there's something, and we talked about, what about protesting something the government's doing that you don't like?
Yeah.
Is that okay? I said, sure, it's okay. It's great if you believe there's an injustice to speak up, but you can do that from a place of love again, just like we were talking about with the children.
Yeah.
Rather than a place of anger and fear.
Yeah.
Because if we can get out of that fear, and a lot of times for me, I'm angry because I'm afraid. Anger's a secondary emotion for me. I'm never angry just because I'm angry. I'm angry for a reason every time. A lot of times I was angry with my children when they were little because they were embarrassing me. I was all about the persona, I was a successful businessman and I needed to look successful all the time. I mean, I never went anywhere, Shane, without a nice shirt. I never wore a t-shirt in public. I wouldn't know.
Suit and tie.
In the summertime, I wore a button-up shirt. I wore nice looking clothes all the time, regardless. Now all I wear is t-shirts, that kind of thing.
That's funny.
I mean, at the time, I was really about keeping the persona up. And my kids were embarrassing me.
Yeah. You were a prestigious gentleman. It reminds me of
I was a businessman, and I had to look businessmanish all the time,
Be on point all the time.
That's it.
So if your kids were embarrassing you, there was fear there that somebody might see you, or that you would look bad, or you wouldn't.
I would look like a bad parent was my big one.
There you go. Oh yeah. You want to look like the best dad and the best
dad. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So I found that a lot of my anger with my children was not about them at all. It's again back to the same. It comes back to me again, like the divorce,
Yeah. Selfish bastards we are.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm so selfish. What is that?
Yeah.
But I'm just, I'm the same. And if I've got to fight, I've got to see where to inject love and acceptance.
Yeah.
And the fight leaves on its own. Anger management's just managing the anger. We need to move past anger management and move to why you're angry. That's what we talk about when we talk. So, okay.
Yeah.
What is it that you're afraid of?
Because fear, like you said, fear is always the underlying factor.
I had a sponsee that him and his wife were fussing, and he said, he said, well, what is it that you're afraid of? She said, what? Yeah. He said, you're afraid of something. That's why you're fussing at me. Let's just get down to it and skip all this.
Yeah. How'd that go over?
Freaked her out,
How do you get out of my head? Stop reading my mind. How do you know this?
My wife used to say, quit budzooing me, like Lao Tzu.
Yeah. Stop that. Dang it.
Yeah.
That's funny, man.
But, it is all acceptance, especially when we see situations and there's some grieving that goes with that. If we see our community changing in ways we don't like, there's grief in that. Mm-hmm. And there's fear because we don't want it to change. What's next? Because that's the problem with a lot of this is where it's constantly changing and we don't want change. I don't. Yeah. I can go eat at a restaurant one time, and when I come back, I want to sit at the same place I sat at the time before.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, we're creatures of habit too.
Yeah.
I was just looking for that. What did you tell me? Damn it. Where is it now? You said it one day about moving. There it is. That which moves, he stands on. Mm-hmm. So, and you just reminded me of that when you were talking about the change thing. Like we're constantly moving, and when we're stuck or clinging to shit that is past or Like for instance, and you know this, we've talked, but like where we live right now has changed a lot in the last year and a half, especially the last year. And so we still see it as this place that it once was, but it's changed. And so it's really hard to find some acceptance in that. And we're getting there. But we still want it to be the town that it was, you know, when we moved into this house 3 years ago, you know, and it's just
you were raised there. So you saw you've seen the town all your life. And a lot of the ways you remember it probably are not how it really was, but to some point it was.
To me, from my experience.
Right.
I guess,
from your, so, and I started seeing that coming out in anger in the podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about sponsorship, and this is something I could give a little point about that. I said, Shane's getting angry, but I can't tell Shane, hey man, you're getting angry on your podcast. You need to stop that.
Yeah.
You know, I said, that's not for me to tell Shane. That's for Shane to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
I said, why don't I just encourage Shane to go to meetings, to check his spiritual fitness every day. And I bet the rest of it will take care of itself.
Yep.
So that's what I did for months.
You dumb son of a bitch.
As a matter of fact, I got
your
angry
head
with
out
you
of
one
your
day and
ass.
just hung up on you. Remember? I got angry with you one day and I just hung up the phone.
He did, yeah.
And I had to make an amend.
I was like sitting there like, did he just fucking hang up? He did. Oh shit.
I got mad, I got mad because you weren't doing what I thought you should do.
I remember that.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but I amended and cleaned it up and, we moved on, but it was just, that same idea. And then one day you said, I've been angry on the I said, really?
Well, no shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
but that's how it works though. If we open ourselves up, and we've got to do the things that cause us to open up, whatever that is for us, and then once we start, then God takes care of the rest.
Let me read this question. This comes from Brad. Brad and I talked a little bit on through the contact form or email. And one more time too, Derek the plumber, thanks for the message. Appreciate it. If you guys want to leave a voicemail, you can go on the website, thatsoberguy.com. There's a voicemail.
Hey, and just to reiterate, if he needs a sponsor or any support, come to our Fourth Dimensioners 9 p.m. Eastern meeting. And there's a lot of guys on there all over the country that could be a temporary sponsor for you if you need that, or some other phone numbers of guys that you can connect with. We try to be a little early if you can. We bump 100 usually 10 minutes after, and then it's touch and go from there. But we can get you we'll give you what support our experience lends anyway.
No, and that's great. And that's what Brad was kind of getting at too, I think, was he had emailed back the other day, said, hey man, I need a good sponsor. Any suggestions would be helpful. And I think that's where I'd kind of directed him is to, hey, there's a ton of good dudes in this Fourth Dimensioners meeting. But one of the things, before I kind of ask you your thoughts on a good sponsor or whatever, I always remember you telling me back in the day, or we had I don't remember if it was on a podcast or just a convo we had, but like, what is a good sponsor? Like, how do you find a good sponsor? And one of the things I've always remembered is, and you're kind of just alluding to this on my hard-headedness, you didn't tell me what to do. You made suggestions and let me get my head out of my own ass myself. But a good sponsor will share his experience with you, his or her experience with you, right? They'll share what they did, what they, where they failed, where they made progress, that kind of stuff. But rarely do they tell you what you need to do or what you should do. Now, I want to kind of caveat that with, I've talked to different people. There's some situations where maybe somebody's new in recovery and they need to be told what to do. They need shit lined out for them. And so, every situation is a little bit different, but from a general perspective, just in the program in general, that's why we say we share our experience, our strength and hope. We're not telling anybody what they should or shouldn't do, right?
That's 100% correct, Shane. I try very hard to share from my experience.
Yeah.
If it's something I have zero experience with, I would tell someone they can talk to someone else. Or I've had my sponsor before. My sponsor was really big on this. He was a consultant. He did consulting work for a living. and worked on big government contracts with roofing. He's a roofing consultant. So he had an opinion on everything. Every little thing he had an opinion on. But when it came to sponsorship, he left all of that out. And if he didn't have any experience with what you were talking about, I remember one day there was something that he had no experience with. I don't even recall what it was. And he said, let me talk to my sponsor about that because I've had no experience with that and see if he has, and I'll get back to you. So it's really about, because for me, my higher power is in my experience.
Yeah.
So when I share my experience, I'm really sharing God with you. So that's where God is. God isn't in what I believe or what I think you should do. God is in my experiences.
Yeah.
So that's how God worked in my life. So this higher power, this God of my misunderstanding,
that's
really
a way to put it. Yeah.
is in my experience. So I don't have to explain God. I just share my experience.
Yeah.
And the great thing about that is that when you sponsor someone, you don't take responsibility for their sobriety because all you do is share your light. You shine the light.
Yeah.
If they get something from that light and they can see something in them, great. If they can't, that's fine too. It's not up to you to get them sober, because if they're not at a point to where they're ready to surrender, it doesn't matter how much you say you can't say the right things, or how much advice you give, or how eloquent you are, nor if they're ready, you can't say the wrong things either.
Yeah, that's good.
So if you're looking for a sponsor, how do you find one? Again, it's a great way to learn to be powerless. Just remind yourself and your higher power that, and this is what I would do, and I do this over situations a good bit. I'll just say, I need a sponsor. I feel I need a sponsor. That's what others have done that I see have what I want. So I'm open to a sponsor today. Show me who my sponsor should be. Put my sponsor in front of me. Go to what's moving, in other words. And then go to meetings and ask for a temporary sponsor. Say, I need a sponsor, and see who shows that can work with you, and I would always do a temporary so that I could see if they're the right person.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you think someone's the right person, they may not be. And then if it's temporary, it's temporary, and it's no big deal. And then you can start connecting and start getting to know different people and see if it's someone that'll work for you. You'll know.
Yeah.
You'll know. You'll connect. You'll know.
I had a couple different sponsors before you and I started working together. And I wasn't ready, good fit, excuse. I mean, go down the list of stuff why it didn't necessarily work out. The one guy was a good dude, and then I used the excuse because I found out he had less time sober than I did. Like after, and I was like, "What? Well, that doesn't seem right. He can't be my sponsor. He has less time than I do." So I was like, "Oh no, you're not going to be my sponsor." And then I got an email from Buddith, all the way out from Georgia, one day. And then, it was like I opened myself up to being available, and it just kind of worked itself out. Now, for somebody who, let's say the Fourth Dimensioners, for instance, I can't remember if they do a sponsor call or not, but let's just play this out real quick as a quick example, and then we'll kind of move on. But if somebody was looking for a sponsor, they're taking your advice like, hey, okay, I'm going to make myself available. God, I'm open today. Help me find a sponsor. I show up to the meeting. Does somebody say like in there in the chat, hey, I need a sponsor? Or do they do a sponsor call? Does Scott do a sponsor call at the end? Or I can't remember.
We do an altar call at the end, but we don't take up an offering. No, I'm just what we do is we do a meeting after the meeting.
Got it. Okay.
And they usually say, because different people chair every night.
Yeah. And
we say at the end during the meeting, they'll normally say, hey, if you're looking for a temporary sponsor, stay for after the meeting and we'll talk. Perfect. And then like sometimes 30, 40 people will stay for the meeting after the meeting.
Dang.
Sometimes it'll last 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And the first question we ask after the meeting is, does anyone need a temporary sponsor or need some phone numbers? Mm-hmm. And then everybody chats and talks and figure out, what we have that we can help. And people put their numbers in the chat that are there awesome. That you can get. So it works that way. So yes, everyone, you have an opportunity after the meeting. So let's say you can't get there right at 9 p.m. Eastern. I know West Coast, that's 6. So it may be difficult for some people. Come in the meeting late and then stay for after the meeting. And that's when we do that. It's after the meeting.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So there you go. I mean, that's it's kind of how it works. If you're looking for a sponsor, it's a good place to start. Those notes or that link to the meeting is on the website. It's in show notes. Man, what else, man? Good chat today. We're already at an hour, which is like baffling to me. The shit flows and goes by so fast when you get in some good convo in and stuff. But
I know you wanted to talk about, I think we hit everything that you wanted to talk about. People making me upset. How can I not get upset for people doing what I think stupid shit, stuff like that, you know? Yeah. And it's, first of all, quit calling it stupid shit. Second, they have every right to do. They have as much of a right to do what you think is stupid as what you have the right to do what you think is right,
Yeah. But wait, I'm smarter than them, buddy. I'm way smarter.
Maybe, but that doesn't mean they don't have a right to be dumb either, But, there's several things that we can move in that direction. One thing that I used at first was when somebody does something that I disapprove of, can I just smile? Even if I'm in the car and somebody pulls out in front of me, can I just smile at the car? Have you ever tried to smile and stay angry at the same time? It's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
And nobody sees me doing this shit-eating grin other than me, right? But it makes me feel better. Second, they didn't do that to me. They would have pulled out in front of any car that was riding down the road at that moment. So it's nothing personal.
Don't take it personal. Like that's a huge one. Yeah.
Yes, that's huge.
I think we'll title the podcast that. Don't take it personal. It's good.
And then thirdly, what I did at first before I was able to do any of that, I would give 5 people the right to be wrong.
I remember that. Yeah.
I would number them too. And it's amazing that when I would number, and it's kind of, they're not wrong. I mean, it's my ego saying they're wrong, but yet I'm noting it, right? Yeah. It's a noting technique. Yeah. So I'd say, number 1, number 2, number 3. And when I would number it, and then I'd have to go up from there, of course, or start over again because I'd go way past 5. But before long, I started accepting their behavior a lot more. Then, okay, I'm going to give you a pass today, and all I'd have to do is say, you're number whatever, and in myself, I may think, oh, there's a bunch of dumb mofos out today,
Yeah.
But when I would do that, it would help me to move toward acceptance and lower my expectations. Yeah. So, in reality, they did nothing wrong.
So allowing 5 people.
Do what?
I just wanted to reiterate that allowing 5 people, you can start there, to be wrong with you today, and just allow, in your opinion at least, right?
Yeah, and it works for me, and it did at first. Now I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah,
because I can be a little more accepting of what they're doing, and I know I don't feel so separate. I don't feel so attacked.
Well,
everyone's out to get me.
Yeah, and we worked on that for a while. I remember we were doing that, and I was doing it for a minute, and I haven't remembered it in months till you just brought it up. So I am going to try that tool or little trick myself for the next, we'll just say with today. We'll just start with today. How about
cool.
that?
I've got one little quick thing about that I want to tell you that really should resonate. It was early Sunday morning. I was headed to the clubhouse to meet with a sponsee, and I was running late. And I knew he'd be sitting there waiting on me. And I don't like being late because I don't want to disappoint people, right? Back to that people pleasing. Mm-hmm. And it's 35-mile-an-hour speed limit on my road. It's about 4 miles to get into town, but no one goes 35. Everyone goes 45 and 50, right? So you don't go 35. Okay, I run up on somebody and they're going 35. And I'm just riding his tail all the way, the way in.
Yeah.
So what I turn left to go to the clubhouse, and I'm just cussing the guy, and all. I said, I got to get to the club. I got to meet this.
I'm late.
All this, and he turns left. He turns the way I'm turning. Then I'm fixing to turn right. He turns right.
Of course.
You know what's going on. Then he turns into the clubhouse in front of me. Uh-huh. It was Fred, and his wife had just died, and he was looking for a meeting.
That's
you know,
terrible.
and I was like, wow, I still tear up thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not very often you put those extreme things on, oh, well, the person's on their way here. This guy was needing some relief, and I was concerned about, you know, looking good.
Well, I think it's a really great story and lesson in that to remember. I know I'll remember that now. I mean, that's something we can use. Well, hey, maybe that's Fred in front of me. Maybe he's, maybe he just lost his wife or his love. You know what I mean? Like something like that.
It was just crazy. I mean, I'm like, gosh, and I felt so bad. And so I remember that now because it happened to me. I remember saying, ooh, I don't need to presuppose that my time is more important than I don't have the right to be rude to anyone anytime for any reason.
Yeah.
And it's so superficial in situations like that. And I'm the one that suffers.
Yeah.
Because I'm the one that's pushing when there's no reason to push.
Yeah. Now, is it okay to call ourselves names and call ourselves stupid and be mad at us? You stupid son of a bitch, Raymer. Why did you? No, it's probably the same, right? We need to try to stray away from that kind of,
because either way causes us angst, whether we feel we're better than or less than, because that's just pride in reverse when we beat ourselves up.
Yeah, that's good.
That's the way I interpret that. So,
well, good stuff.
I find love. I find a way to put love into the situation, understanding, acceptance.
Yeah.
And for me, it comes from just letting go of the thing and believing things are as they should be. Certainly nothing I can change about the guy driving slow in front of me. I've actually had people driving on my behind close and it aggravate me. And I've said, I sure am driving close to me today, and I would send them love and try to, and I've actually seen people back up and get, like they became aware of what they're doing. Like I know times I've driven up on someone and not realized how close I was. Like, oh shit, I'm close to that person. I need to back off, And so I would just say, hey, they're not doing that to me. They're just doing that to this car that's in front of them.
Yeah.
Don't take it personally.
Yeah. Jess tells me I drive like I'm like 95 sometimes. So I think part of it is you get like what's the word, not distracted, not like distracted like looking at your phone, but like spaced out a little bit, and so you might do that. You might be driving really slow. I have people on my ass actually a lot. And then it's like, you better get off I'm gonna brake check this mother. Nah, not really that great of a decision, but anyways, man, this has been fun, dude. Good chat. I feel like we got quite a few topics to kind of hit on, and I appreciate your insight and experience, sharing it with others out there. We got a lot of good resources out in the show notes today for those listening. If you need anything, buddy, what do you want to close with, man? Where can folks find you or hit you up or find the podcast and all that good stuff? The dailyaaemails.com points to the Transitions Daily page, and you can go under pandemic resources and see a lot of things there. Check us out at the Fourth Dimensioners meeting. Say hello. That Sober Meditations app has over 400 meditations that have been recorded there that cover all kinds of, from all the steps, 9 different meditations on each step, 5, 10, and 20-minute meditations. The 10 minutes have the most content. And then the 20 minutes are just longer versions of the 10-minute. So I'd suggest looking at some of those. I use those to work the steps with sponsees. Lots of good stuff there. Lots of good podcasts on the podcast link on the Transitions Daily page. So you can go to dailyaaemails.com and it forwards to there. So it'll be an easy way to find it. But lots of good stuff. Yeah.
We're just, trying to just do the next right thing. Shane, the same thing that said there, it's all, that's what it's all about. It's letting go. And if I just keep doing the next right thing, everything else just works out, like the quote we started with.
Yeah. Yep. Started with it, and we'll wrap it up with it too. Doing the next right thing, staying in the moment. Man, I really appreciate you, dude. Thank you for all the service that you do. Not just for, our working relationship and friendship, but just everyone else out there too, man. We appreciate you. I always get so much good feedback when I be on too. So thanks again, man. I hope something spoke to you today. Share the podcast with a friend. Download the Locals app or go to thatsoberguypodcast.locals.com. Join the new That Sober Guy Podcast community on there. Peace, love, and respect. Keep your blood clean.